Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm Cheryl. So as promised, this is going to be my mapping strategy to help us pick up some of these important keywords in your real estate salesperson's paper 2. So as I mentioned earlier in my previous video, I think it's going to be more effective for this strategy to work only if you guys follow me through this exercise. So that would mean I strongly suggest for you guys to actually get hold of some pen and paper, or if not, you want to do so electronically, that's fine as well. But the idea here is this: if we go through this exercise together with the thought process that flows through, we're going to form some sort of a photo memory, which is going to help us enhance on memory retention. All right, so here goes some of these keywords that I've picked up for paper 2. So feel free to add on. This is not going to be exhaustive, of course. So it's going to be, the effort is going to be on your own to pick up some of these keywords as well. So here come some of these key topics that we have done throughout these 10 lessons in paper 2. So let's go through one by one. The first one, real estate salesperson's regulation. So this is going to be broken down firstly into Estate Agents Act, which actually speaks about the estate agent, so which is the company itself. So in order to set up an estate agency, there needs to be a key executive officer with at least 3 years experience, and over these 3 years would have concluded 30 transactions. Salespersons falls under estate agents, and we have to adhere to the Code of Ethics and Professional Client Care. We do need to fulfill 6 credits for CPD, which stands for Continuing Professional Development. So I'm using short form here just to make sure it's easy for us to recall, but I need you to know the full term on your own, okay? So for this renewal process, we need to fulfill at least 4 professional competency credits, 2 generic competency credits. We do have to have a written agreement with the estate agents before you can start doing your practice on the ground. Some of these other things are keywords that we have picked up as well. No dual representation, no referral to moneylender, and professional indemnity insurance before we can start doing our estate agency work. Under CEA, there is also this dispute resolution scheme, more for the consumers as a recourse if they were to face with some errant estate agents on the ground. So under this dispute resolution scheme, there are 2 schemes, mediation as well as arbitration. Real estate salespersons are also guided by advertising rules, which includes Personal Data Protection Act, under which falls the Do Not Call registry. Spam Control Act, some of the key points would include this following. Now, something to take note here, for section C in your real estate salesperson examination, the missing word can be a word, can be a phrase, or it can be numbers as well. So it could be, example, what is the, how long has the unsubscription option under Spam Control Act to be opened? So the answer is 30 days. We have to leave it opened, available for the consumers to click unsubscribe for 30 days. In the event, if they click unsubscribed, we need to remove this contact from our list within the next 10 days. We should not be calling or sending SMS to any of these people within this stipulated time frame. Also, something on the outdoor advertisement, which falls under the purview of Building Construction Authority, BCA. For residential real estate signs, it should not be more than 2 square meters. On vacant land, real estate signs should not be more than 10 square meters. All right, so like I mentioned, it could be, the missing word could be a figure. Now here comes the next one, which is on marketing. So marketing has got to do with research, which primarily deals with 2 kinds of data, primary data as well as secondary data. We go into market segmentation, market targeting, positioning, which helps us form a little bit of a product differentiation, as well as the 4 Ps. So I think I'm going to leave it to you guys to understand what these 4 Ps are, okay? Now, methods of sale, there are 3 of them. Under marketing umbrella, we have also learned a subset of legislation known as the Consumer Protection Fair Trading Act, under which it targets unfair practices by vendors to consumers. So some of these key things that we picked up, the claimable limit is going to be capped at $30,000, and it is going to be claimable within 2 years. The types of product, of course, we are back to residential, commercial, industrial. So some keywords associated with residential here would be the street block plan, which is namely for the landed segment, landed property segment. This street block plan is going to help us determine or confirm what is the envelope control guideline, is there any basement works allowed, and what is the setback for this piece of land, etc. We will have to check with the road line plan, which is going to tell us whether or not there will be future road widening works in that area. And lastly, if you want to run a childcare in a residential landed enclave, then we need to ask for a temporary permission, which maximally will only be granted for 2 years. Commercial, we might possibly need to ask for a change of use. If approved, 3 years. Industrial, we will have to fulfill this thing called the use quantum, which is your 60% predominant industrial users, as well as 40% ancillary users. So here comes the next topic, uncompleted property. So for uncompleted property, it falls under the purview of the Controller of Housing, COH in short, which is a subsegment under URA. So under Controller of Housing, they basically oversees all uncompleted properties, which in other words, we call it BUC, Building Under Construction. So Housing Developer Control and Licensing Act controls housing developers, which means residential. So here are some of the key things that we picked up. Firstly, there is this thing called the sale, no sale license. And in order for residential developers to obtain a sales license, they need to open a project account as well as to maintain it. So if you have been granted a sales license, then this some of these key terms that is usually in our building under construction contracts. DLP stands for defects liability period. So we are just using short form to aid memory, 12 months. Liquidated damages, if the developers are late in delivering possession or legal completion, 10%. Errors and omission, 3%. Subsale, NOVP stands for Notice of Vacant Possession. CSC stands for Certificate of Statutory Completion. And late interest payment, 14 days is our grace period for the consumers. If they are late more than 14 days, on the 15th day onward, 2% per annum is going to be chargeable. So here are some of the key figures that have picked up as keywords. On the other hand, COH also takes care of commercial developers under a different framework, Sales of Commercial Property Act, which by and large, if you have paid attention to the regular lessons in our RES course, then you would have realized that majority of what we spoke of on the blue side is also applicable for commercial properties. But I just picked up something that is classically tested and very much different. In the event if the purchaser of the commercial property were not to go ahead to exercise the option to purchase, the forfeiture is going to be 50% of option fee instead of 25% of option fee, which was for the residential part. Now going on to completed properties. So completed properties has got to do with the first keyword, caveat emptor, you buy as is where is. This would generally covers things like patent defects, which is aesthetic. Things are easily picked up, such as missing items, etc. Also, we learned about what is material facts, and under material facts, you will see this keyword, latent defects, which is things like water seepage, structural issues, etc. Of course, on top of that, the lawyers typically go through this process called legal requisition. Completed properties, we also take reference to the Law Society's Condition of Sale. COS stands for Condition of Sales. So under here, we have picked up some key things which I think is going to be crucial, which might appear in filling the blanks. So in the event of death, or if either party loses mental capacity, the completion date can be postponed 3 months. If either parties are late for completion, late interest 8% per annum. IRDA stands for Insolvency, Restructuring, Dissolution Act. There is a clawback period that we need to be mindful of, 3 years. Notice to complete 21 days. Now, under completed properties, I've also scoped in collective sales. So collective sales, maybe one of those keywords is extraordinary general meeting, which will require at least 20% of share value or 25% of sole proprietors to vote for this before it can commence. For any failed attempt, 50% subsidiary proprietor, subsequent retry, second or subsequent retry, 80%. Now, in this EOGM, they're going to elect this collective sales committee, which will be dissolved after 1 year if the minimum percentages of consensus is not obtained. So minimum consensus meaning any building that is 10 years and above, you will require 80% votes to say yes, 80% of share value. Anything younger than 10 years old, 90%. So take note of the percentages here. Something else on completed properties is also possible for us to apply for a permit to run your small home business inside your residential buildings. This can refer to HDB or private under this thing called home office scheme. Then here comes rental. For rental, 3 keywords, okay? So these are the 3 that I think is important. Feel free to add on if you feel something else you have picked up as well. Here comes BMSA, which stands for Building Maintenance Strata Management Act. So this one has got to do with strata title buildings. So firstly, after the developer lodges the strata title plan with SLA, we're going to get an MCST number. So make an effort to know what MCST stands for. MCST is owned by all subsidiary proprietors, which is another word for legal owners. Under the MCST, to run the day-to-day operations, you form a council, which is made up of not more than 14 people. Out of that, 3 of them are office bearers. So this council has got some roles and responsibility they're supposed to fulfill on behalf of the MCST, namely to register and maintain the strata roll, as well as to keep all records such as minutes of meeting, call logs, maybe circulars, communications, etc. for 5 years. We have share value, which is often a keyword that will tell us this building is actually a strata development, determines share in common property, voting rights, which will be exercised in your annual general meeting. Example, if you want to increase gross floor area of the entire building, we will need at least 90% resolution. It also determines maintenance contribution, which can be further broken down into management funds and sinking funds. Sinking funds, some crucial keywords associated with that would be future capital needs. Under BMSA, the estate will also be guided by compulsory bylaw, and the estate can also make for themselves additional bylaw by means of passing special resolution. Now here I put a bracket, 75%. Please take note of this. The name of the resolution is called special resolution. How many percentage is special resolution? 75% of share value, okay? So please do not attempt to write 75% resolution because there is no such resolutions, all right? Now moving on to HDB's topic. HDB can be broken down into BTO. Of course, some keywords associated with BTO, it's our newest scheme, which is called the Prime Location Public Housing Scheme. Under BTO, it's also possible for us to enjoy priority. Here are all of this. Now, I expect all of us to understand some of these short forms. And I think it's easier to probably remember short forms because it will help us in our recollection. PBS stands for Parenthood Priority Scheme. MG, Multi-Generation. MC, Married Child. TCPS stands for Third Child Priority Scheme. Assist is for widowed person. TPS, Tenant Priority Scheme, and Senior Priority Scheme. Here comes resale. Ethnic Integration Policy, our EIP, makes sense for us to memorize the numbers and percentages as well. Resale levy. upgrading program, and we also have got what we call the estate renewal program. HDB loan eligibility, short form, we often refer to that as HLE. And here comes some of these keywords associated with procedures. After obtaining your HLE, then we guide the buyers or the sellers to go through this process called the intent to buy or intent to sell. And we will have to submit for valuation request once OTP has been issued. Then if the OTP is exercised, we need to submit for resale application. If need be, there might be temporary extension of stay. HDBs also has got some schemes targeted at senior citizens, namely lease buyback scheme, silver housing bonus. Under silver housing bonus, the bonus is 30% cash bonus, not 30%, $30,000 cash bonus. HDB, we also talked about rental. If we are renting to non-Singaporeans, non-Malaysians, then we need to check with this quota called the non-citizen quota. Here comes taxation. Stamp duty is the first one. So stamp duty, there is this thing called the ad valorem duty, as well as something to note, it's going to be a tax on written agreement, not actual transaction, but written agreement. We have some keywords for ABSD, remission criteria, free trade agreement. For lease, annual average rent, AAR. Okay, so these are some of the keywords I picked up, but feel free to add on more if you deem fit. Here comes property tax, which is a form of wealth tax. Under property tax, we have this thing called annual value, AV in short, which talks about the annual rental that a property can potentially obtain. Valuation list is going to be a registry that IRAS maintains. If there are any objections, then here comes Valuation Review Board, which is a panel that's going to review these objections and whether or not there are grounds for it. GST, taxable person, has got to do with standard rated supply and input-output tax. Zero rated supplies as well as exempt supplies. Income tax, one thing is this, deductible expenses, 15%. Okay, so these are some of the associated keywords. Lastly, financing. So let's talk about HDB first. HDB, we have got grants. So here are all these grants. We expect you to know the short form of it as well. Home protection scheme, if we want to take HDB loan, we need to subscribe to this insurance policy. Enhanced Contra Facility, ECF, okay, which is a financing tool that is only available for HDB resale market. Bank, okay, if you take bank loan, TDSR, IWAA. CPF, okay, 3 keywords. Valuation limit, 100%. Withdrawal limit, 120. Basic retirement sum, full retirement sum. Pay attention to the percentages because what might be the missing word could be a number, a figure. Okay, so thereabout, it's my mind map for you. Okay, so here is something for you to continue to work on. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. All right, so see you for the next video.